Okay, so we have white, yellow, red, and we have the ball that we're looking at in Canvas, right? So keep that in mind. You're gonna need to be watching or looking at the ball picture in Canvas, or if you want to print it out with your printer, that's fine too. Your printer will most likely print it out slightly different in terms of the colors, and it won't be 100% accurate, but at least it'll be close, right? So I'm gonna start. So remember, these are where the values change on the ball in the picture, right? This is that hot spot, and it has this like yellow orange above it, right? And a little bit of a pinkish color underneath here. If you are just thinking that you're going to use white, black, and red for this, you have to look beyond that, right? So when we're using color, I think it's more difficult to paint with color than it is with solid white and black. Everything has multiple colors in it. Even if you say, oh, but my object is red, like this ball, keep in mind that everything around it has color itself too and affects how the red looks. So the red ball is sitting on top of a blue surface and it's being lit up by a yellow light. So those two things affect it. So if you look at the back of the ball or where it's darker, you'll notice that it kind of looks bluish or purple because blue is on the surface that it's sitting on. And so when you mix blue and red, you get purple. Hence why it has a little hint of purple, right? Okay, so I started with the white. I put a batch here. I'm going to put some yellow in it because I want to do a light yellow first. And then I'm going to zoom in so you can see it a little better. And then I'm going to put it where it's nice and bright. Okay. And this is just the first layer, right? And if it's not bright enough or yellow enough, I'm going to add some yellow. So I'm grab some solid yellow, mix it in with the light yellow that I put in there. And now when I compare it to the picture, looks pretty good. I'm going to add maybe some more white into it. If you notice that your paint is kind of getting lumpy or clumpy, either A, you added too much, or B, you just need to add a little bit of water to smooth it out. If you have a couple chunks here and there, that's fine. It's not a big deal. Okay. And I'm going to put just a little bit more yellow in it because in the picture it has more of that vibrant yellow. Okay. And then it blends in or fades out into this yellow orange that's right up here. Now I'm going to go in and make this yellow orange here. So a little bit of orange or a little bit of red with more yellow and white in it. So this is kind of a pink right now. Now I want to make this almost like a peach color will show up. Which is what happens when you want to make a yellow orange with white in it. You'll get almost this peach looking color. I'm going to rinse it off. And I'm going to make a solid orange with the red and the yellow first. To mix it in with that peach one. This is a better orange. I'm going to put it in here. You see how it's already blending in or mixing in with the peach color that I put in there? I'm going to rinse and then I'm going to blend it with that light yellow in there. just a little bit to get rid of a little bit of that line. Now I'm just going to go down here, and this is more of a pink reflection that I'm going to add to it. Okay. All right. Notice up here in the picture, it's almost like a yellow-orange, or no, yellow-orange with some red-orange in it. You can also layer paint on top of each other. So as I said a minute ago, there's like a red-orange. So I'm gonna put this orange underneath first. Notice how I watered it down. This orange will show through whatever color I put on top of it. Obviously, if I put a yellow on top of it, it's gonna come through more. Okay. Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, Jade, I didn't mark you absent. I did mark Ryan absent because he wasn't here earlier. So let me change that. Sergio's still not here, right? Nope. Okay. So putting that orange down a little bit first. And then for this, I do want people to try and make it a nice clean ball as possible. So like keeping that outline as crisp as you can. All right, so I'm going to put a little bit of red on top of this orange. Now the orange will not show as much through the red because the red is obviously darker. But it's a faint red-orange. And so now I'm going to mix some of the red in with the orange on my palette so that it looks more of that red-orange that I want. By the way, why did I start over here and not at the bottom of the ball? Correct. It's the lightest. It's easier to go from light to dark as opposed to the opposite. I'm not saying you can't do that, but you'll end up using way more paint if you do it that way. I mean, if you have a good chunk of paint that you don't mind just going through, for sure, go ahead and do that. I like to conserve my paint as much as possible. I'm going to switch over to a bigger brush now that I'm covering more ground. So with your guys' cups, I noticed like some people were not happy with the way it came out, and that's fine. But remember, you can always go back and add or paint on top of what you had before, and it'll cover it, sorry. Right, so keep that in mind. So if there's things that I don't like on my ball here, once it dries up, I can go back and clean it up. And if I accidentally paint over that highlight that I did, it's not a big deal. I can bring it up later or bring it out. You want to use the pointy brush when you get to the little sections of your painting. You don't want to have any white or empty spaces. So along that hot spot that I put on there. Remember how I put a good chunk of white? So now I'm using that because it's still wet. I'm using red, yellow, and white. And so I've been mixing the red and the yellow to make some of that orange that's visible on our ball in the picture. I know the camera doesn't sometimes pick up the true colors. Yes, the hot. Uh-huh. This right here. So I used white and yellow at first to have that light yellow, and then I put a little bit of this peach color, which was white, yellow, and a tiny bit of red, and I put on top of that. Okay, good question. I'm gonna cover a little bit of that because it was a little too bright for me right now. I can always go back and change that or add to it, not necessarily change it, but add to it. In terms of the smoothing out of your paint, in terms of the brush strokes, be patient with that. That comes with time, just so you know, and having the right consistency in the paint, meaning not too much water, not too little water. If you add too much water, it's going to be transparent, the paint, right? And you won't be able to see the brush strokes, but the paint's not going to be good enough. The flip side of that, if you don't add enough water, everything comes clumpy, and when you add the paint, you'll be able to see the brush strokes. So having a good balance between water and paint is going to be important, and that takes time for people to get used to. So I don't want people to be too concerned over the fact that you can see the brush strokes. What I want you guys to focus on the most is being able to blend gradually between the different values. Okay? That's my main goal for you guys right now. A, getting used to the paint. B, getting used to how much water to mix in or how little water to mix in. And then slowly getting the idea down of blending the different values together.